Dr. Asif Raza, Rector UFT, Professor Dr. Zafar Kyali from the University of Trent, Zaki Jas Saab, the reborn chairman of the PCCI, Imtiaz Haider Saab, Commissioner from the SECP, our foreign guests, faculty, deans, directors, students, everyone in the audience. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. One of the most interesting facts that I've come across about banking, finance, and economics in Pakistan is that 70% of our population believes that the banking services, the financial services, and the economic system they operate in does not align with their faith. 70% of the population thinks that the financial services they are provided does not align with their faith. So this alone shows, even from a commercial point of view, that Islamic banking and finance is very much needed, as there is a huge demand that we see in the population of this country. Secondly, the Wall Street crash was one of the biggest economic losses in the history of this planet. And one headline that I remember from that year, that it was probably from the BBC, it said, "We want to bank the Islamic way." And this was from someone who was a non-Muslim trader, who was a non-Muslim businessman. And the BBC, after the Wall Street crash, had quoted him, and it said, "We want to bank the Islamic way." So one, we see that Muslims want to bank the Islamic way, and secondly, we see that non-Muslims want to bank the Islamic way. And this shows that whatever has been given to us from the Almighty is obviously the truth, because the truth will always succeed and falsehood will always be defeated. It is both a privilege and honor to welcome you all to the 6th Global Forum on Islamic Economics, Finance and Banking. This is not merely a gathering, it is a moment of reflection, and I'm very pleased to hear all the speakers today, and they provided the audience with a lot of intellectual nourishment and a lot of ideas, and this is a moment of direction. We gather at a time where there is a huge global economic order, there is a huge distress, there is a huge change, there is a change in the tectonic plates of the economic order. We see that there is a huge wave, there's a huge trend in terms of de-dollarization. The dollar is the currency of the world, and then we also see, given the gold prices, there is a huge debasing of the dollar. So whatever economic system we operate in, it is being exposed to shocks on a daily basis, and we do not know whatever value things, commodities carry, what is the real value of that commodity, and what is the real value of all these fiat currencies. And then we also see that the world today holds $300 trillion in global debt. $300 trillion. And that is 3 times more than the global GDP. And then we also see our country, Pakistan, has about 80 trillion rupees of debt. 80 trillion rupees. And in interest payments, the people of this country pay about 7.5 to 8.5 trillion rupees every year and the total collection from taxes is about 13 trillion. So half of what the country collects, it pays in terms of interest. So we have to see where is this country headed. And I once read an economist saying that if half of your income, of your country's income, is going into interest payments, then that means you are running a Ponzi scheme. And a Ponzi scheme is a scheme where you may have heard of Double Shah. He was someone from Shekhupura, I think. He used to take money from one party and give it to another party. So this is currently what the country is doing. We are collecting taxes and paying half in interest and then reborrowing money and then paying again to the banks. So this whole system today is exposed. And we see the results in terms of inflation. Sardar Saab spoke about Hazrat Umar. We read that for decades, the price of wheat did not increase in his time. And the reason was that there was no interest-based economy. Let me give you a small example. Let's say you are going to buy a house. A house has, it obviously has steel, it has cement, it has paint, it has windows, it has aluminum frames, it has a lot of lights, it has a lot of obviously multiple inputs from different sectors and industries. Let's say if I have to work on interest and I make steel. If 1 ton of steel costs 100,000 rupees, if I am to work on interest, it will carry a 10-12% interest cost. And that ton of steel will then have a cost of 112,000. And whatever profit I will have will be marked up on that 112,000. So that the market rate of that steel will then be maybe 115,000 or 120,000. So a product which had maybe an actual value of 100,000, 105,000, because of interest will have a market value of 120,000. And if you take the same example and carry it on all the other inputs that you put in for a house, and if let's say the builder also takes loan from the bank to make that house, then the house that would have had an actual value of 10 million, due to interest, it will have an actual market value of 15 million. So what interest actually does is it makes the poor homeless. And it makes every little commodity, everything in the economy out of reach of the common man. And it makes people who have resources wealthier. So, and then this is where we see that 50% of the global wealth is in the hands of the top 1%. 1% own 50% of the global wealth. And then we also see that 1.4 billion people on this planet are unbanked. They do not have a penny. They do not have access to financial services. So this is what this world of interest is doing. And in such moments, Islamic economics does not only present itself as an alternative, it presents itself as a necessity. Allah reminds us, Allah commands us that do justice, excellence and giving, and He forbids oppression. And He states in Surah Al-Hashr, so that wealth may not merely circulate among the rich from among you. And the World of today is doing exactly that. These are not moral teachings, they are enduring economic principles. Today, Islamic finance is no longer theoretical. It is about $3.5 trillion in assets. It is growing at 10%. Over 80 countries of the world have Islamic financial services. You can find Islamic banks, institutions in the UK, in Europe, in other countries of the world. Yet, despite this progress, Islamic finance represents less than 2% of the global economy, of the global financial system. So there's a huge upside that is there, that is possible, and the potential is vast, but the journey is obviously not complete. The question before us is now no longer whether Islamic finance is viable. We know the current system does not work, and we have a pilot. We know that there are trillions of dollars in Islamic assets, and the system is followed in about 80 countries of the world. So we know that we have a system which can be replicated, which can be scaled. The real question is, do we have the vision and do we have the courage to scale it into a system of justice? So Islamic finance is not merely a system of economics and finance and banking. It is a fight against corruption. It is a fight against injustice. So you have to decide, are you up for the challenge? Do you want to fight against injustice? Do you want to fight against corruption? Do you want to fight against exploitation of the masses, exploitation of the common man? So the theme today, transitioning from conventional to Islamic banks, must therefore be understood as a civilizational tone. And we honor the legacy of Professor Khurshid Ahmed, who got the King Faisal Award for his services to Islamic economics and finance, who played an instrumental role, was one of the early thinkers and scholars in this field. And we pray that all of us can carry his legacy. He was far beyond his age. 5-6 decades ago, he was talking about Islamic economics. He was into practical applications. He was devising systems. He was devising policies. And as we heard from Sardar Saab, he was also active in the legislative process. So we honor his legacy. May Allah accept his efforts. And we hope and pray that we can continue the good work that is done at the Khurshid Ahmed Institute of Islamic Finance. And a vision for the next decade is that, inshallah, Islamic banking system, Islamic economics, Islamic finance will rise, and it will, inshallah, transform the global financial system. And we all need to play our part in this fight, in this struggle, and hopefully we will see a world where there is less injustice, where there is less exploitation, where there is less inequality. And once again, I would like to thank Sardar Yusuf Saab. I would like to thank the international speakers. I would like to thank the keynote speakers that we have from various countries. I would like to thank the participants. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you will have a good conference. Thank you.